Welcome back to the channel, and in this video we have a special treat in store for you. Now, a year ago we did a video on the Zebedee Rig, and that video got 44,000 views, so it definitely perked a little bit of interest. So in this video I'm going to show you how to make them, and I'm going to go out and fish with it, but only on one rod. So I'm going to put the Zebedee Rig up against my faithful and very popular Ronnie rig, and we'll see which one comes out on top. First. Now, as you've seen from the intro, it kicked off a little bit this morning, but it's just got too hot for me to literally film and fish down there and do my vocal. The cameras were overheating, so I'm going to do vocal bits up here. I'm going to start by explaining the rules of this challenge. So what we've done is we've got the Zebedee Rig and basically a Ronnie rig. All the components are the same, as in the shrink tube angle is the same, the hook is the same, the bait screw is the same. I've been using the wafter, the same wafter on both rigs, and they're fished 3 or 4 foot apart depending on how accurate I'm casting. So the Ronnie rig is on the left. I'm aiming middle water, but I'm aiming to the left side of the corner of the pads, and then the right side with the Zebedee rig, same distance, middle of the water, but just aiming towards the middle of the pads on the far bank. Right, so this is Zebedee Rig, so it's basically a bungee rig, and I'm sure you've seen and heard from it before. And the theory behind this type of rig, this bungee system, there's definitely something to it, because some of the best anglers in the business have come up with their own versions of this rig. Now, the theory is the fish can't chuck the lead as easy, because when it pulls and shakes its head, it's not going to go slack. It's always on a bungee, which is giving pressure on that hook tip to stay nailed inside that fish's mouth. And that's the theory behind it. So the Zebedee Rig comes in 2 options. You can get them ready-made just without the hook. That's, you obviously do that bit yourself. And you can also buy the kits, which you can make the whole Zebedee Rig yourself. Now, I've got both kits with me, so just go through them really quickly, so at least you know what you get when you buy these. So the ready-mades are $6.99, and within that you get 2 swivels which are attached. You get a tail rubber. Now remember, I said tail rubber and not anti-tangle sleeve, but I'll touch on that later. You get the Zebedee bit, which is nice and curled up, and then you get your hook link already attached. And all I've done is put a grinner knot to a Ronnie swivel, and then that gives me my rig. So I'm going to go back down to the lake now and start fishing again, because I've started using 1 ounce leads. Really, they're not big fish in here. You can hook them quite easily. So I've started with 1 ounce leads, but I think the mechanics of the bungee rig, I think ideally are for big leads and big wary fish. So the fact that I've come here is a runs water, but it's one of the hottest days in the year, and it's, you know, I wasn't going to risk going somewhere in hope of a big one and not catching, because I've got to create a video. So loads of fish, loads of runs. It's going to be an exciting challenge between the 2 rigs. So let's get back down there. I'm going to use the ready-mades. As I said, we're going to start off with some 1 ounce leads, but possibly later on in the afternoon we're going to change over to maybe a 3.5 flat pair, just to get the best of the Zebedee Rig's hooking potential. Right, so I'm back at the peg, and because of obviously the heat in the mid-afternoon, the fish are all on the top, and there's loads of them. So as I said, we've done the 1 ounce leads. I'm going to change over to 3.5 flat pairs now, because I do feel that's when the bungee rig will come into its own, because the scores, which we will go into in a minute, are very even, we'll say, and that's with a 1 ounce lead. So I think when we change to the heavier lead, if my theory is right, this is where the bungee rig will start hooking a lot more fish. But because the weather is absolute scorcher and the fish are on the top, to start getting amongst them again, I'm just going to have to fill it in. I'll fill it in. My boiler's got loads of liquids in, so there's going to be loads of attraction on there. And I'm expecting a quick bite, to be fair, but we will see. So let's get them out and let's see what the scores are. You're kidding. Well, that's a first. So that's the bungee rig changed to the larger lead, and we're away. Now, I put a lot of bait in earlier before I went up to the shop, just to keep them interested, and they're clearly on it. I can't believe that. I can't believe it's gone that fast, and I can't believe I've got it on film. That's a right touch. Now, I have had a lot of fish so far, and I'm not really filming them when they're on the bank because it's so hot, and I'm just literally putting them in the unhooking mat, unhooking them, treating them if they need treating, and then putting them straight back because it's really hot. I don't want to sort of stress them out any more than I need to. But what I'll do is I'll show you this one, because this one looks about the average size of fish, this. So at least you can get a closer look at what they are. And this looks like a little gnarly common as well. Yep. Oh, it's one of those scenarios when you get a bite that quick, you sort of look round the lake and go, oh, I wonder if anyone saw that. But now there's no one else on. So there we go. Get in that net, the boy. Yes. Right, I don't want to keep this out of the water too long because, as I said, it is absolutely scorchio. Well, this is probably it's not the biggest I've had, but it's about the average size of the ones I've had. So it's definitely good sport. Nice little cricket back common, as they say. Ooh. Come on, mate, too late for that. As you can see, they don't like being on the bank in this weather. Yeah, maybe one more go, mate. No, that's enough. Let's get this one back. Now, I've just put that fish back, and I just want to show you this, because this, without giving the scores away, so this Zebedee rig has done a lot of fish, to be fair, and the coil of it is still pretty much how it came out of the box. It's not straightened out and stayed there, it's bounced back, so it's still in its optimum position. If I was to be honest, it's maybe moved maybe a couple of mil, if that, but still 100% fishable. And as you saw from that, what was it, 3-second bite, it's still working. And I just wish I could show you the hook holes, because they're not just bottom lip, they're a little bit further back and they're all central. But because it's a barbless rule on here, they do come out in the net. And as I said, because of the temperatures, I don't really want to be faffing about. Just going to get the rod back out, get some more bait out. And while I've done that, because I've managed to film every single run so far, and the reason I've done that is so you know I'm not making any scores up. It's a true reflection of how the session's going and how each rig compares to the other. don't know how I'm going to do the mic. Let me undo that. There we go. Right, oh, we're in. Right, so what basically happened then, while you guys were checking the score, I thought, you know what, I'll just film myself baiting up and the right-hander roared off. So that's put it, what's that, 8-6. And then I've just went to turn the camera on again, which is why you can probably only see my feet now. And the left-hander, which is the Ronnie's gone off. So that's, what, 8-7. We'll get this one, get it unhooked. Oh, that sun. I put factor 30 on about 5 times today and I'm still burning. It's that hot, I'm burning through my t-shirt. The feisty little common, a little bit smaller than the last one. And there we go. Now I'm back out of that killer sunshine. Now I know I've caught a lot of fish and I know it's a reasonably easy venue, but that stamp of fish, that volume of fish on a day like today is reasonably impressive, to be fair. And I have fished it hard to a point that my knuckles have been bleeding because I've been putting that much bait out with the catapult. And I wanted to just try and catch as many fish as possible to see if this Zebedee rig can keep up with the Ronnie, because let's face it, the Ronnie rig with a stiff boom is it's definitely one of the most popular rigs at the moment, and it's probably one of the best hooking mechanics and resetting properties of a rig that we've got in our arsenal. So to keep up with a rig like that, the Zebedee is doing really well. Now, you do get the ready-mades, which I was using earlier, but then you get the kits as well. Now, to make this Zebedee rig, you can check the video which Zebedee have done themselves. On the back of the product there's a scanning code which will take you directly to the video of them making the rig. You can also check their website, which is www.4myfish.co.uk. So within this pack, which I believe is $16.99, you get everything you need to make the Zebedee rig. But this, I'm just going to show you how I make it, and hopefully that simplifies things for you. So the first thing you do is get your big length of shrink tube out the pack. Have that there because I'm going to use that as a measurement. I'm then going to get a good length of hook link out. And then, so the idea is you make your rig as you would normally. And then once you've made that rig, you then thread the hook link through the shrink tube, and this is where I said I use it as a bit of a measurement. I mean, on the Zebedee video that they did, they do give you measurements and inches, and in fact I think it's in centimetres of how to make it, but again this is just how I make it. So that's it. I'm going to basically I'm just going to make a standard rig. So I'll put my rig on like this, do a really simple knotless knot, and then thread my hook link back through the eye of the hook. So there we go. Right, now this is the bit how I do it. So once your rig's made, thread the hook link back through the tubing, and then what you want to do is this bit here, so where the tubing ends, that's where the Zebedee bit is going to start. So with that, then choose the length of the hook link you want coming off the Zebedee. So I would probably say that's right. I'm going to go for a short one. So once you're satisfied with the length of that, then come to the other end and work out where you want your loop. So I'm going to fold that over. I'm going to pull the shrink tube back over the hook, and then I'm going to do my figure 8 loop. 1, 2. Wet that down. Tighten that. There. So now what I've done is I'm going to leave a bit of a tag end there. So I'm not going to cut that short, because what it does, according to the Zebedee video, is once that's within the shrink tube and everything shrinks down, it kind of acts as a little bit of an anchor as well. It just helps everything not pulling through. Now once I've done that, I'm going to pull the shrink tube back over that tag end, over the knot, and I'm going to pull it up to leave myself just enough loop there to enable it to attach to a quick swivel and my leg clip. And then it comes down to that end. So that's the length I wanted. Now I'm going to pinch that now, pinch the shrink tube in, and I'm going to get a little bit of putty. Now the putty does come with the bungee system as well. So I'm going to pull that shrink tube out the way, and then I'm going to roll this little bit of putty just over my marked spot, and then I'm going to push the shrink tube back down like that. So what you've got is you've got just a little bit left of the loop there to help me manoeuvre everything later. You've got the putty pushed into the shrink tube, and that is obviously the length you want for your hook link bit. Once your putty and everything is in place, give the shrink tube a bit of a shrink over some steam. Doesn't take long. There we go. And then what you need is the hold bar. So it's a little black bar inside the ready-made pack, and you get a couple of little red H block markers. So you put that in the end hole like that, and then you grab your rig and you put your hook on the red little bar. And then you pull your rig along and then line it up with the holes. So what you've got is you want the hole just after where your putty is on the shrink tube. So you put one in there, and then on the next hole next to that peg, you put the other one. And then what you'll do, you wrap it around, is it 1, 2, 3, 5 times. So you go in between there, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you get the other little red H marker, which is here, and then you put that through the loop that you've made, which is where it attaches to your leg clip. And then you put the H marker in there, and then just twist it if you want to tighten it up. And you can see what that does. It forms your little Zebedee bit like that. And then once you've done that, turn the kettle back on. And then when you've done, where you've done the coil, just hold that back over and re-shrink it. And what it does, it doesn't shrink the tube anymore, but it tightens that Zebedee bit up. And then what you want to do is just leave that, I'd say probably leave it for about 2 minutes. And then after a couple of minutes, that should be ready. So you take it back off the hold bar. Like that. So undo the clips and just slide it off like that. And then you've got your Zebedee spring. So it's very simple to make. And this is where I mentioned earlier, I said, use a tail rubber, not an anti-tangle sleeve. That's because the tail rubber is a little bit bigger and wider and goes over the shrink tube a lot easier. So just put that on, slide that down over the shrink tube. Sometimes needs a little bit of encouragement sometimes. There we go. Perfect. And then just leaving a little bit of the loop just enough available to put onto your swivel. And then that is your Zebedee. So in fairness, I've made a couple of these now, so I am getting a bit quicker. Your first one, but sometimes is a little bit of a faff. That's why there's some helpful videos done by the guys from Zebedee. But that was, I don't think there's any difference in speed of making that rig to, I don't know, another rig, because it is just a case of you make your normal rig and you've got shrink tube. The only difference is you do the shrink tube twice, once over the hook link and then once again to form the spring. Right, so the scores are currently 8-7 in favour of the Zebedee. However, there is still a lot more fish to come, so let's go back down to the lake and see what the final result is. Again. Oh, this is getting silly now. And there you have it. What a hectic couple of hours I've had on the bank. So the final score was Zebedee 11 fish and the Ronnie 9 fish. Now you can argue the fact that it's an easy venue and obviously any rig would really do the business on here. But what you can't argue is on today's session, the mechanics of the Zebedee rig has outfished the Ronnie rig. So if you're thinking about having a change from the norm, is it possible that the Zebedee rig might just put more fish on the bank for you? Now, if you want to have a closer look at all things Zebedee, then you can go to www.thetacklecompany.co.uk, or you could try formyfish.co.uk. I've had a look on Google and they're also available through Amazon and through eBay. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe to the 𝗃𝗶𝗆𝗿 YouTube channel and click on that bell for future notifications of all the carpiness coming your way from 𝗃𝗶𝗆𝗿ology. I'll see you next time.